Let's take a look at some of the weirdnesses in the accessiBe product and how you operate it and how it gets accessibility fundamentally wrong, as well as basic UX issues and things like that. And there's two ways for you to activate the accessiBe widget. One of which is to click on the little icon. The icon on this site is on the bottom left of the user interface. It's a blue colored circle with a handicap sign, and the handicapped person is holding a computer. The other way that you can get to the accessiBe widget is by tabbing. And so when a user tabs in the interface, it's going to open up a link at the top of the page to show off some options. I'm going to do both of these. The first one, though, is the easiest one to show, and that is I'm going to click the little icon. So I want to show here exactly the state that this is in when it's opened. This just shows the widget and all the options and all that stuff. We can see here none of the profile options have been selected, and everything basically in this case is in its default state. Okay, and I want to make sure this is clear that everything is in its default state and nothing is selected. And I'm going to close it now. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open it by tabbing. When you get to the page and you tab, you get this accessibility feedback and statement. You can also tab again, get skip to content. Tab again, get skip to menu, skip to footer, and then they give you this key sitemap pages. So I'm going to shift tab back to the accessibility feedback and statement, because this is actually, in this mode, this appears to be the only way to open the widget. However, when you do, you're sent to this accessibility statement first. So the accessibility statement is opened first. They have correctly focused on the close affordance. I click that, and a couple of things you'll notice is that the blind user profile sections are automatically selected for you. So it assumes basically that if you are a keyboard user, you're blind. And that's an incorrect assumption, and it's an assumption they shouldn't be making. It's silly, and it shows, again, their lack of understanding of accessibility. Now, going back through this, a couple of things also happen that are weird. For instance, if I select off on this, it's closed and reopened. But actually what has happened is it's not just that it is closed and reopened, it's also the case that the page itself refreshed very, very quickly. So you may not have noticed it. You can slow down the video yourself if you want to see that I'm correct. You also notice, though, I unchecked blind, and now keyboard navigation is unselected. If I select keyboard, well, all of a sudden blind user's profile is selected. And so apparently this gives the impression that as far as accessiBe is concerned, the only people who use a keyboard only are blind people. That's not accurate. I'm going to select this off again. It refreshes again. It reopens again. It's also worth noting that there appears to have been no persistence in terms of reshifting focus back to where I came. So this is actually a WCAG violation. It's an unexpected shift of focus. If I hit tab again, I'm taken to the first focusable item, which is the close affordance, and that's not where it should be. For a toggle button, which are what those things are, focus should be at the control that I had just operated on. So because I had selected blind users and selected that to turn it off, that is where focus should have stayed, but it did not. And that's really where things get super bizarre with this, is there seems to be an inconsistent there seems to be an inconsistent sort of closing of the interface based on certain selections. If I select Caesar Safe Profile, it does not close. If I select Cognitive Disability Profile, well, that's weird. I had already explicitly selected the Seizure Safe Profile. Then I switched to the Cognitive Disability Profile. I turned that on, and accessiBe has undone my prior selection. What this means is they somehow have some sort of exclusivity to these options, and yet they somehow have made it so that it appears that it's not exclusive. If I can select on for this, and on for this, and on for this, or whatever, why is that a problem? If I select on for visually impaired, then that does that. Go back to ADHD, and now that does that. We're not going to talk about these yet for what they do and how they operate. That'll be a different thing. But let's say I'm on the Seizure Safe Profile. Very cool. Now there is this global option here, and this is sort of a Gestalt thing. There is a global option here at the top that says Reset Settings. Reset Settings appears to be a button of some kind, and as a result, we should understand that buttons will operate in the current context. The focus will remain on the button, and it'll take its operation there. So let's see what happens when Reset Settings is selected. When Reset Settings was selected, it has now closed the widget and refreshed the page. Now I would have to go back into the widget to select new settings. Reset Settings, the label and the icon implies, at least to reasonable people, that resetting the settings would just undo whatever else you had selected and then let you restart.